أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to another Risale-i Nur lesson. Inshallah, we will be reading from the staff of Moses, Risale-i Nur. And I think especially with today's current events around the world, especially this lesson has relevance and significance. Inshallah, without wasting any more time, let's begin our lesson. The fourth topic. Again, there is an explanation of this in a guide for youth. One time I was asked the following question by the brothers who assist me. For 50 days now, and now 7 years have passed. This refers to 1946, so this is during World War II. You have asked nothing at all about the ghastly World War, which has plunged the whole world into chaos and is closely connected with the fate of the Islamic world. Nor have you been curious about it. So they come to Ustad and they ask him, why are you so detached from this extremely important event, which is the World War? So many different countries are involved, and you know, the whole world is affected. But Ustad is not even showing any curiosity about it. Whereas some religious and learned persons are leaving the congregation in the mosque and racing to listen to the radio. Is there some event more momentous than the war, or is it harmful in some way to be preoccupied with it? So the question is, coming from some of the brothers, they're saying, what's going on? Why are you not interested about this very important event? However, they're saying there's a lot of, many religious and learned persons are even avoiding coming to the mosque just so they can go and listen to the radio. Obviously back then, it was the radio. If we think about it today, it's our smartphones, internet, social media, constantly trying to follow up with the news and getting updates about what's going on. So the question is there something more important than this world war? Or is it actually harmful for us to be preoccupied with it? So let's see what the answer is. I replied to them, life's capital is very little and the work to be done is much. There are spheres, one within the other, like concentric circles. From the sphere of man's heart and stomach, and that of his home and body, and that of the quarter in which he lives, and his town, and his country, and land, and globe, and mankind to the spheres of animate beings and the world. So Ustad replies, he says, look, the capital of life is very little. We're only here for a short period of time. But the work that must be done is immense. He says there's concentric circles within another. What are these concentric circles? He says it starts with the stomach and the heart, and then the home, the body, and then the town which he lives in, then his country, his land, the globe, and mankind. And it gets larger and larger, all the way to all the animate beings in the world, so all the living creatures. Each person may have duties in each of those spheres, but the most important and permanent of these are those in the smaller sphere, while his least important and temporary duties may be in the larger sphere. So we might have some type of, relation or interaction or concern about all the spheres, about what's going on in our town, in our house, family, in our village, in our country, in the world. But the most important of these spheres is the smaller sphere. And the one that is least important is the one in the larger sphere, which has most of the temporary duties in there. According to this analogy, the largest and smallest are in inverse proportion, but because of the attractiveness of the larger sphere, it causes a person to neglect his important, necessary duties in the small sphere and busies him with unnecessary, trivial, peripheral matters. So, yes, we do have some type of interest and concern with all the spheres. But what happens to human? He, because of the attractiveness, because of the maybe the joy and maybe the curiosity that we have, the larger sphere becomes the most important and interesting. And what does he do? In order to occupy himself with the larger sphere, he forgets about the most necessary duties in the smaller sphere and busies himself with what? Trivial, peripheral matters, wasting his time. It destroys the capital of his life for nothing. See what it said in the beginning? Life's capital is very little and the work to be done is much. So what are you doing? Subsequently, you're destroying that capital, that valuable capital. It kills his precious life on worthless things. Sometimes a person following curiously the struggles of the war comes to earnestly support one side. He looks favorably on their tyranny and becomes a partner in it. Especially with wars, sometimes the haq and batil are mixed. There's a lot of atrocities and crimes committed from both sides. So sometimes when we favor one side, we might be indirectly also supporting their atrocities and, their negative actions. So we become a part of it. So the answer to the first point, yes, an event more momentous than this world war, and a case more important than that of the world supremacy has been opened over the heads of everyone, especially Muslims. So Ustad, he actually says yes. Because you remember the question? Is there some event more momentous than the war, or is it harmful in some way to be preoccupied with it? That was a question. And Ustad replies, yes. There is something more important than this world war. And there's something more important than world supremacy. At the end of the day, think about it. These countries, what are they fighting for? They're fighting for dominance, they're fighting for supremacy. And especially, there is something very important that Muslims are responsible for. So that if everyone had the wealth and power of the Germans and the British, and sense as well, they would unhesitantly spend all of it to win that single case. And if you had the wealth of those nations and the sense to, what would you be doing? You would be spending all your time and effort on that case. So the question is, what is that case? The case is this: relying on the thousands of promises and pledges of the universe's owner, who has disposal over it. Hundreds of thousands of most eminent of mankind, and uncounted numbers of its stars and guides have unanimously given news. And some of them have actually seen that for everyone the case has opened by which they may either win in return for Iman, belief, or lose eternal properties as broad as the earth set with palaces and gardens. So there's a case, there's a dava that's been put upon us, that has been given to us as Muslims, a responsibility. And Allah, the owner of the universe, and the one that has disposal over it, and the hundreds of thousands of prophets and messengers and scholars and saints have all given the same news, that you can either win in return for faith, Iman, or lose that eternal property which is as broad as the earth, full of palaces and gardens. If they do not secure the document of Iman, they will lose it. It's just not enough to be a Muslim, but it's also important that you have strong faith, taqiqi Iman, true, unbreakable, conscious, firm faith. If you don't have that, God forbid, Allah forbid, you may lose it. And this age, many are losing the case because of the plague of materialism. And unfortunately, the age we're living in, majority of the people are losing that case, losing eternal reward and losing eternal property. For what? Because of materialism, because they want to gain the dunya, and they've forgotten that the main priority is the hereafter, the akhirat, the everlasting, eternal. But instead, they're trying to gain the wealth and the material of this short and temporary hospice, hotel that we're in, which is this worldly life. One of the diviners of reality and investigators of truth observed in one place that out of 40 people who died, only a few won, the others lost. Can anything take the place of that lost suit, even rule over the whole world? So just think about it. A saint that, can traverse into different spiritual realms, saw a reality. And what was that reality? He saw that out of 40 people that died, only a number of them, a few of them, actually won that dava, that case. But the majority of them what? Lost it. And he says, even rule over the whole world, will that compensate the loss that you've had? So just to recap, the fourth topic from the Asai Musa, the staff of Moses. World war happening. Millions and millions of people dying. All these nations fighting for land and resources and power and world dominance. But Ustad seems disinterested. Ustad doesn't show any curiosity. And the brothers come and ask him, what's going on? Why not? Is there something harmful? Is there something harmful in being preoccupied with this? Or is there something more important? And basically Ustad explains that there's different concentric circles. The smallest one, which is the heart, is the most important. And the one that has the most important and serious matters and concerns, especially for the Akhirat. But the one in the larger sphere, the world, the dunya, that's the one with the least important duties and responsibilities for us. And he says that life's capital is short and the work to be done is much. And he says that the most important thing that we should be working on right now is gaining that eternal property, gaining eternal paradise, and making sure not just us, but also our loved ones, our friends, our family, our concentric circles that are closer to us also can gain that eternal property. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who focus especially on those duties of the heart, of the mind, of the spirit, and who can avoid being a part of those unnecessary, trivial, peripheral matters. And to inshallah gain the acceptance and the pleasure of our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you for listening, my brothers and sisters. Inshallah, see you for the next lesson. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin lillahi ta'ala al-Fatiha.